Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bold Take Podcast. I'm Austin Wader. Rocking the Notre Dame shirt is the Austin Hill, which, speaking of that, make sure you tune in to our college football episode if you haven't after watching this NFL episode. Notre Dame and Army, a big matchup this weekend. Indiana, Ohio State. We're getting closer and closer. One more week, and then we're at conference championships, Austin. After next week, we'll be at conference championship time, and we get sooner to finally seeing what the 12-team playoff looks like. Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to see how it works out. But that's in our college football episode. Make sure you go get that a watch after this one. Nonetheless, our NFL one. So in case you have not known, no NFL episode came out last week. Unforeseen circumstances was the problem with us. Shout out unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah, you're
Um, yeah, he's a dark horse for MVP. I'm telling you right now. I mean, whenever you need something, you go with unforeseen circumstances. But nonetheless, we're back this week. So let's start with, as we usually do, our biggest winners and losers in the NFL. We'll do it from this past week, not the week before last. Week 11 in the NFL, Austin. Who is your biggest winner?
I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles in a matchup against the Washington Commanders on Thursday Night Football. So really, to kick off our week last week, they get the job done in a battle that's certainly going to matter down the line in this NFC East for deciding this conference. I think that's a good opportunity for them to get a big win against a very important and very talented conference opponent.
Yeah, and safe to say those two still have to meet again as well. So who knows what will be at stake when they play. I'll take a different one. I'll take the Seattle Seahawks. I'm not going to lie to you. Um, they were playing the 49ers. I didn't think they had a shot at winning this game. I will just be down honest with you. I thought there was no chance. It was in Santa Clara. The Niners have owned the Seahawks. Didn't think there was a chance. But credit to Geno Smith for making the big play at the end to score it. And the Seahawks right back in the competition for this interesting division that we're calling the NFC West this year, to say the least. But yeah, but now our biggest losers, Austin. I know what mine is. What is yours?
Um, it's the Chicago Bears. Look, things have just spiraled out of control the last few weeks. And it doesn't seem like we have an answer. It feels like the Bears can't get out of their own way right now. Um, and look, I hate to say it. I hoped that giving Eberflus another chance, we'd at least have a competent season. But I'm not going to blame everything on him, but he's had a bad run. We knew we were bringing in a new quarterback. I just didn't understand not bringing in a new head coach to try and set the tone for this rebuild. Now, I won't say this year's been wasted for Caleb Williams. I think he's made a lot of developments in his first year, but it does suck that he's going to have to learn an entirely new offense, and we're just going to have to, kind of restart after this year. Um, Hopefully this team can get it back on track because we were really playing at an extremely high level. But yeah, right now this team is just falling out of control and can't get out of their own way.
I think that's a fair one for mine. It's a very simple one, and that would be Duval, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I will just be frank and as blunt as I can be. I don't know how Doug Peterson's still there right now. I really don't get it. I don't get how Trent Baalke is still there as GM. 52-6 loss, worst loss in franchise history. You're 2-9 in a season where, after disaster last year, pressure was all on him, and yet he is still head coach. I don't get how. It blows my mind that he is still going to be coaching the Jacksonville Jaguars this Sunday. It really truly blows my mind. That's actually a lie because the Jaguars are on a bye week, so he gets another week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I don't get it. I do not get it. But nonetheless, that's our biggest winners and losers. But now let's dive into some drama in New York. And for once, it's not about the New York Jets. I know, right?
yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. It's
Well,
about the New York Giants. And what, Austin?
they're still bad, and they fired their GM.
That is true. That is true. They did fire him. They should have. They really don't know what they're doing there. Aaron Rodgers, who knows what that's going to be next year. Just yeah, just don't know what to expect from the Jets next year or what happens the rest of this year, nonetheless. But as far as the Giants, the big drama that came out this week came in with Daniel Jones being demoted from QB1 down to QB3 was originally it. And look, let's just state the obvious. There were very obvious financial things that were on the line if he kept on playing. So, whatever. Then it was announced he went from QB3 to QB4 and was being the safety for the practice squad during practice just a week after being the starter. And then the news that broke this morning, he asked for a release from the Giants and got it from them. So it is officially the end of the Daniel Jones era in New York. Will not say it was a wild one. It was full of some intriguing moments, Austin, but this whole week I would just call it a disaster on the New York Giants part. That's just my opinion of it. I don't think the New York Giants franchise did him right. I know even if he asked for the release, I don't think they did him right with this whole scenario.
Yeah, I think honestly Daniel Jones got cheated almost every step of the way except for when he got paid. I mean, we're talking about a guy that wasn't good. I mean, let's just face it, he was not good enough to be a first round draft pick. They drafted him in the first round, put an insane amount of pressure on him right away in one of the most volatile sports markets there is. Um, then he's up and down injured, finally has a healthy year, puts together a great year, and then they put more pressure on him by paying him more than Saquon Barkley when they could have definitely, I guarantee, had paid Saquon more and still kept Daniel Jones. Then he gets hurt again, and he comes back this year, and he's not performing. And now he's being demoted to the bench and then released. Look, I mean, it was just Daniel Jones really never benefited from the situation. The two highlights of his career, he had one good season, then he got paid, and now he's getting paid like $20 million for the next couple of years to not play football for the Giants anymore. I think that's the biggest win in this whole thing, is he doesn't have to play for the Giants anymore. Look, I don't think Daniel Jones is the greatest quarterback of all time. I certainly think he could have played better in his time in New York. But the Giants put unfair expectations on a guy who was never going to be able to live up to that spotlight.
Yeah, I mean that's very fair. Yeah, getting paid $20 million to not play for the Giants. I mean, I'll take that. I will gladly take it. If someone
That's
said, Austin, I'll pay you $20 million to not play for the New York Giants, I said, where do I sign up? What time do you want me out the door? I got you.
yeah.
That is the dream there. But you mentioned it. The other big news out of New York was the firing of the GM, Joe Douglas. They already fired Robert Sala. They already fired Joe, now firing Joe Douglas. There's rumors Woody Johnson wanted Aaron Rodgers benched in like week 3 or 4. The Jets are just a disaster at this point. My question just isn't your reaction to it, because I mean, look, let's just face it. I don't think Robert Sala and Joe Douglas got dealt a fair hand, because Joe Douglas made some good draft choices for the Jets during his time. Robert Sala, I think, did a good job too. He made that clear. Is there any hope for the Jets in the near future? That's my ultimate question for you, Austin.
Um, Look, it comes down to ownership and the decision making of ownership. Obviously, ownership is going to come out now and try and paint this story that they wanted Aaron Rodgers benched. But this was ownership that was begging to do anything to get the job done, to get Aaron Rodgers to come in. They'd pay him anything, to come in and try and save this franchise. And now you're going to try and pin that blame on the head coach and the GM. I just don't like that. Like, here's my thing. The GM and the head coach have done all this to pay Aaron Rodgers all this money and bring in all his buddies and paying them all this money to be on the Jets. What's the point in sitting Aaron Rodgers? One, you're just basically calling it a season at that point. And two, you're wasting all this money. So I think ownership's got to be better. Look, that's a lot of times what we see with these franchises is owners want to get a little too hands-on, and then when things don't happen the way they want them to happen because of the situations that they've put the ownership, or they've put the not ownership, they put the GM and the head coach into, then it all of a sudden becomes their faults when they're basically trying to save their jobs one way or the other. Look, I think ownership's either got to be more hands off or a little bit more willing to kind of accept the fate. Look, you signed Aaron Rodgers to whatever kind of deal you signed him to. Nobody else wants that with the way he's playing right now. Right now, you kind of just have to bite the bullet and accept the situation you put it in and try and win some games with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean there's nothing else they can do. I mean, you're now sitting at 3-8. Um, really not much else you can do. You still have plenty. Look, the talent's there. They just got to try to get some stuff together. I mean, great receiving core. The defense was solid before Robert Saleh was fired there. So I mean, there was potential all around for it. You wonder, and also you just got to wonder, at least to me, what head coach and GM want to walk into that situation in the offseason? Like
Nah,
who would want that to go into that scenario after just what happened these last 2 years?
yeah, I like Aaron Rodgers isn't even a selling point anymore. Like the guy slipped so far into his own psychosis that he can't even play football well anymore. He's just an actual psychopath who is being paid millions of dollars to try and play quarterback. I mean, I wouldn't want to head coach that team. We've got a guy with an ego problem and mind clearly off football playing quarterback. And now they're not winning games either. Why would anybody want to inherit a situation where you are going to play bad football for at least the rest of Aaron Rodgers' contract?
I
Just not.
mean, no. I mean, it's just either way, it's just not good there. I guarantee you, Madden 20, whatever the next one will be, Madden 26. I guarantee there will be a lot of people rebuilding the Jets if you actually buy that game.
Yeah.
Um, but nonetheless, let's talk more now about some stuff that went down last week in the NFL as far as big games and things that happened. We already touched on Washington and Philly a bit. The Steelers taking care of the Ravens. I would talk more about that, but there's some more Steelers stuff we unfortunately have to talk about later. No, I do not want to talk about it, but I'm a man and we are going to talk about it anyway. Nonetheless, though, let's talk about the big game that was last week, Austin. Chiefs and Bills. Everyone knew about it. Everyone wondered, was this the week the Chiefs magic was finally going to run out? And it finally did against Josh Allen and the Bills. Uh, and just the atmosphere around that game was different. I mean, CBS was doing their shows live from Buffalo. It was a different atmosphere from that game. I haven't seen like a game all regular season long. And truly, I'll just be honest, I feel like the Bills were in control of this game throughout most of it, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm with you. And look, let's just get out of the way. Tony Romo was unbearable to listen to during this game. And that comes from a guy who started out not liking Tony Romo, and then I feel like he developed himself. But now the Mahomes talk. Look, all he wanted to talk about was Patrick Mahomes. But let's put that aside. There was early in the game there were some criticisms about how often uh, they were blitzing Patrick Mahomes. They were saying, and it was working, but they were like, oh, eventually this is not going to work. The Bills never blitzed this much, and eventually Mahomes is going to figure it out. But I think this was the key to the game. The offensive line has clearly struggled over the last couple of years in Kansas City, especially this season. Not just not being able to block, but a lot of penalties, holding, false starts. And they knew that this is how they got in and made the big plays. They sent a lot of pressure. They made Mahomes' night hectic. And look, it paid off. This receiving core did not really show up. Hopkins still getting in his groove, and while he's had some good games, still getting in the groove. Xavier Worthy still making some rookie mistakes, and that's expected. I mean, it had Patrick Mahomes not driven his helmet into Rashee Rice, they might win this game. But he's cost himself his number one receiver. And look, we had that play. Xavier Worthy gets open down the field because of the blitz, catches the ball 1 foot, doesn't toe tap, he's out of bounds. Just stuff like that they couldn't get the job done. But I mean, that's just what it came down to. The blitzing put insane pressure on Patrick Mahomes, especially Von Miller. This is the level of play you expect from a guy like Von Miller. And it's unbelievable that at this point in his career, he can still get home and get to Patrick Mahomes. But also, Josh Allen played phenomenal. He put the team on his back and he made some absolutely massive plays against Kansas City. Like you said, Buffalo dominated this game. And I think it came down to the genius decision to go against your tendencies on defense and put constant pressure on Patrick Mahomes and make him beat you.
Absolutely. And then not to mention the gutsy fourth down play call there, which I was totally in favor of. And I know some people are like, well, of course you were in favor of it. You know, it worked out for a touchdown. Of course you'd be in favor. But no, you think about the scenario. There's what? Less than 3 minutes to go in the game, 4th and 2. You're telling me you're going to kick a field goal and get Patrick Mahomes the ball down 5 with 2 minutes left? I'm not doing that voluntarily. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, look, let's just be frank. If you didn't go for the ball there, if you didn't get the first down, the Chiefs were going to go down the field, control the clock, and win the game. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are too good. You had to get in the end zone and extend that drive as long as possible. Look, they learned their lesson in the playoffs. You cannot give Patrick Mahomes any time in a game that he can tie or win. They've learned that lesson. And so that's the decision you have to make is Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, and it paid off.
It truly did. And it was a 30-21 win for the Bills. And of course, playoff future there. Obviously, maybe head to head could come down to it to see who gets the home playoff matchup. Last year it was the Bills. Chiefs went in there and still won, but you wonder that home playoff spot, which reminds me as we get ready to go into the next week in the NFL, our playoff predictions or way our playoffs are set up right now. Of course, the Chiefs would still be the 1 seed in the AFC, the Bills the 2 seed. Steelers, after a certain thing that occurred last night, they're still good, but they fell to the 3 seed. And the Texans would be the 4 seed. Those would be your division winners right now there. But the wild card teams, the 5 seed would be the Los Angeles Chargers, 6 seed the Baltimore Ravens, and the 7 seed hanging in there is the Denver Broncos at that 7 seed in the
Wow.
AFC. So the AFC and that 7 seed spot seem to be up for grabs. But yeah, the AFC Austin as a whole, these look like the clear teams that we talked about at the start of the year. The only ones that are really the surprise are the Chargers and the Broncos. And I really don't, the Chargers, I wouldn't say as much a surprise because we knew that what Jim Harbaugh could do there for the Chargers. But Broncos, the last couple of weeks, Bo Nix has looked very good.
Yeah, he's looked unbelievable. He's really stepping in to his NFL role good. But really, he had no excuses. The guy has been old enough for a while to be playing starting quarterback in the NFL. So really, it would have just been unfortunate for him had he come in and been bad. Not a lot of time to grow and develop for Bo Nix.
I mean, yeah, it's to say the least. They came in and they're getting what they expected of a guy who's been in college football that long. They humiliated a Falcons team who, let's face it, is not taking advantage of the situation that they have had the last 2 weeks now, losing in embarrassing fashion to the Saints, now losing in embarrassing fashion to the Broncos. That NFC South, you're lucky Tampa's sitting right now at 4-6 still, and you're 6-5. But there's still a ways to go there. You don't want to risk blowing this. I mean, you were given a golden opportunity with Chris Godwin out for the year, Mike Evans out, the two main offensive pieces for Tampa Bay out, and you're really only up by a game and a half over the over Tampa Bay right now.
And Mike Evans comes back this week.
Exactly. But as far as that, speaking of that, the NFC playoff picture, the 1 seed, of course, would be the Detroit Lions, who have, let's just face it, been the most complete team in the NFL, I think, to this point, to say the least. The 2 seed, Philadelphia, look, we could have a talk about Philly. I just have a hard time trusting them with Nick Sirianni as the coach. That's the other thing. They have plenty of talent that they can get that 2 seed or 3 seed and maybe make the Super Bowl, but it's just hard for me to trust them with Sirianni as their coach. 3 seed. How about this, Austin? The Arizona Cardinals, currently the 3 seed
Wow.
in the NFC, leading that NFC West. And then the 4 seed, the Atlanta Falcons there. So in those top four, some plenty of surprises in those last two teams that would be hosting home playoff games. And as far as wild card teams, you got the 5 seed, the Minnesota Vikings at 8-2, who I really don't know what to think about them at this point because they're 8-2, but they have not really looked good offensively the last 3 or 4 weeks there. You got the 6 seed, the Green Bay Packers. We know what they can do if they can stay consistent. And then the 7 seed, man, wouldn't this be something if the Washington Commanders, being the 7 seed out of the NFC right now, this NFC is full of plenty of surprises and some intriguing teams. But listen, at the end of the day, we know one thing: they got to go through Detroit.
Yeah, and that's been a tough team to beat.
Yeah, to say the least. But I want to backtrack a little bit talking about the Eagles. I made my point very clear about Sirianni. The Eagles are an 8-2 team, Austin. Some impressive wins that they've got. What are your feelings about the Eagles sitting here at 8-2? Because there's a part of me that thinks they're really good at 8-2. At the same time, they're like, if they had a better coach manager, they would be dominating teams and maybe be undefeated at this point.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is I'm surprised to see that they've got things back under control. Obviously, things went off the rails to close out last year, but they look like they're back on track and winning football games. Obviously, we'll see how they finish this year. But I've really just been impressed that with all the alleged talk and what happened in the locker room between coaches and players and all this mayhem and chaos, that they've been able to put this team back together and put them back on track. And we've seen more of the Eagles from the beginning of last year than the Eagles that closed out last year.
To say the least there. And then the 3 seed, look, let's just talk about it. The Arizona Cardinals right now leading that NFC West, which is just all kinds of chaos. You got the Cardinals leading it at 6-4, and then you've got the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers all sitting one game behind them at 5-5. This division is all over the place right now. And honestly, with how crazy it's been, it is fitting that the team that no one expected to win it this year is sitting at the top currently.
Yeah, just impressive, and just again saluting the Cardinals for believing in their guy and Kyler Murray and him going out and showing them exactly what he's worth.
Absolutely. Now let's unfortunately get to the part of the show that I have dreaded the most up to this point. So there was Thursday night football played last night in Cleveland between the Steelers and the Browns. If you did not have a rooting interest in this game, this was a fun game for you. It was a blizzard by the end of it. It was absolutely beautiful snow football. You love to see it. Problem for me is I'm a Steeler fan, and that game was absolutely a disaster. A 24-19 loss to the Cleveland Browns. Just a few days after beating the Baltimore Ravens to take full control of that AFC North, they go on the road and lose to the 2-8 Browns on Thursday night. No way to say it other than embarrassment with some late game scenarios. But I will say this, and Austin, you know me well. I said this all the time. If you were a true Steeler fan, you knew that this was coming at some point. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, some decisions late, maybe not in their favor. But I'm just surprised at how much energy this Browns team seems to have with Jameis Winston at quarterback. Look, they're not always winning games, but this guy finds a way to get the team motivated. And right now, they're finding a way to win the big games and play spoiler in that AFC North right now.
Yeah, they need to stop doing that. Just my personal opinion, they need to quit doing that. But nonetheless, though, Steelers still in first place in that AFC North. Look, they have plenty of tough games left on their schedule, which is why it worries me completely that they lose this game with the games left on their schedule. These were supposed to be the easy, guaranteed wins to get you at the end of the season to make sure you get above 500. Because you know Mike Tomlin, if it gets close to him not getting above 500, they're going to play lights out football the rest of the way. So, but nonetheless, there was absolutely devastating loss there for the Steelers. The Browns, like you mentioned, they're playing tough, they're playing hard for Jameis. You just wonder again what the future really holds for that organization here, sitting at 3-8. Questions about Kevin Stefanski, obviously, questions about the quarterback that Jameis has replaced and certainly outperformed up to this point. You have the idiotic takes of Miles. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yep.
No, actually, after what he said last night, I will say it's an idiotic take. Almost as idiotic as taking a player's helmet off and using it to hit people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, done that in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, crazy, crazy. Don't
It'd be
know, but
that happen ever.
yeah, I mean, who would do that? Certainly not Miles Garrett. Certainly not. I mean,
Citizen.
but nonetheless, they're Steelers. They got time to bounce back. You're sitting at 8-3, still first in the division. Just got to win a couple of games. Just got to close out, and you can get a home playoff game. And I am trying to remember. I think 2020 was the last time the Steelers had a home playoff game. So it's been a bit of time for them. And if they win this division, they get that. But they still got to play the Bengals twice, the Browns again. They still got to play the Ravens again, the Eagles, and the Chiefs still. So still a lot of tough games to go on that Steelers schedule. They got to be ready to go to end the season. But now let's get into this week in the NFL. Let's talk about some games that we're going to be picking here. Obviously, week 12 has arrived, the final week before Thanksgiving next week. So, similar to what I said in the college football episode from Austin, we are planning to do an episode before Thanksgiving. But if we don't do another one, we want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Hope you enjoyed the garbage football choices that you will get for the NFL on Thanksgiving. I would highly recommend watching Memphis and Tulane on Thanksgiving night than some of the other choices.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, let's talk about some of the key matchups for this one that will be interesting to say the least. The first one, an intriguing one. I know it's your Bears, but this is a fun one in the NFC North at Soldier Field. The Bears hosting the Vikings. These are two offenses the last couple of weeks that have just been struggling, trying to get anything going. Of course, the Bears made the change with Shane Waldron, but the Vikings offense, despite them winning, has not been impressive up to this point. I know where you're leaning, but tell me why you're leaning with the Bears.
Look, I'm going to go with the Bears here. I think they get it back on track. They find their footing. Caleb Williams, he had a better game last week under the new system without Shane Waldron. Hopefully now, a second week with the new play calling, this offense is even more aggressive. The defense comes to play, and the Bears get the job done and get their season back on track.
Straight to the point. Simple. I like it. For me, I'm rolling with the Bears too, just because, again, I don't trust the way the Vikings offense has looked the last couple of weeks. You wonder exactly what it's going to be with Sam Darnold. I think the Bears defense can get some pressure on them. I will say, I think this will be a low scoring affair, to say the least. So I'm going to roll with the Bears with that one. Next intriguing matchup that we got here in the afternoon slate, you got San Francisco heading into Lambeau to take on the Packers. For the Niners, this is a must-win at this point. You're sitting at 5-5. You want any point chance at winning that division. With how the other teams are playing, you've got to get one here in Lambeau Field against a team that really the last couple of times they played, they have dominated them in Green Bay. So, what are you seeing from this matchup going down in Lambeau Field on Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, well, look, Lambeau is always a tough place to play. Um, and here's the thing, I don't know if you just saw, but Brandon Allen is going to start this game.
I'm sorry?
Yes, Brandon Allen, Razorback legend, is going to start in place of injured Brock Purdy.
Wow. There's
Um,
your breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. We got the breaking news here, courtesy of the one and only Austin Hill. How about that? Brandon Allen.
bro, just for that reason, I'm going to take the 49ers to come out here and shock the nation. Brandon Allen throws for 500 yards. No, really, in this game, I like the Packers. Look, obviously now with Brandon Allen coming out there, the offense could look a little bit unpredictable for the 49ers. I think the Packers are playing well. I think they've got the momentum. I hope Brandon Allen comes out and torches the Packers defense, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going to go with the Packers, even though it pains me.
You know what? A wise man once said, no, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. I ain't doing that. No, you know
Yeah.
what? Screw it. I'm gonna roll with Brandon Allen. I don't care. I don't care. I
I
do not care. I will roll with Brandon Allen. Look, it's simple in that Kyle Shanahan offense. He's just got to get the ball in the weapons' hands. Get the ball in Debo Samuel's hand. Get the ball in Christian McCaffrey's hand. Unique ways to get the ball in their hands, I think, is what Kyle Shanahan is special at. If he does that, I think they have a chance to win this game. Of course, George Kittle missed last week too, so he needs to be playing too for them
yeah.
to have a shot whenever they want to run the ball as well. And I think that Niner defense will give them a chance, even if Brandon Allen with Brandon Allen starting. But man, Wow, catching me off guard. When did that news break? That literally broke about like 6 minutes ago. Wow.
Literally just now.
Perfect timing there. Absolutely perfect timing. But now let's move to the next one. Speaking of NFC West teams, a huge one in Seattle. 6-4 Cardinals heading into Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Cardinals first in the NFC West. Seattle coming off the huge win. If I'm correct, the Seahawks I think have beaten the Cardinals 5 consecutive times. So you wonder going into Seattle, Kyler and them have won some games that they weren't supposed to this year. Can they do it and go into Seattle and win this week?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've got the momentum. I think they've got the confidence. I think they go in, they silence the 12th man, and Kyler Murray gets the job done.
If this was if this was not the 12th man, I would pick the Cardinals. I'm loving rooting for Kyler. I'm loving rooting for the Cardinals. I'm just not betting against the 12th man at home after a big win like that against the Niners. I'm going to take Seattle to win. I know the potential is there for a massive disappointment after going on the road and beating the Niners last week, but I'm going to roll with Geno, let Geno cook, and he's going to beat the Cardinals and make this division make even less sense now, even with Seahawks and Cardinals sitting at the top there. And then, spitting that our final matchup on Sunday before the Monday night game is another NFC West team, Philadelphia, heading to LA to take on the Rams on Sunday Night Football. These two teams, they played some great matchups in the last couple of years. We know what Philly's done. The Rams are getting healthier by the day. This is a fun matchup on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one, but I think the Eagles will get the job done here. I think the Rams defense will make this game interesting. I just don't know if the offense will be able to keep pace with the Eagles.
Yeah, I would say that, but Philly's traveling all the way to LA. So that's a long trip. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it done there. I'm going to take the Rams. Look, the Rams O line is getting healthier by the day. They have multiple guys coming back this week on the O line, which some guys that haven't played since week one against the Lions. I mean, it's been that long that they've been injured. Having them back, having Cooper Kupp back, Puka Nakua, plenty of the weapons back for Stafford. Probably I'll honestly say the healthiest the Rams have been obviously all season, maybe in like 2 or 3 years at the rate that they're finally getting guys back. So I'll take the Rams here. And then our final game pick, Monday Night Football. It is the Harbaugh Bowl, Austin. The Baltimore Ravens heading to LA to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. John Harbaugh versus Jim Harbaugh. I think there's enough said there. Both teams are really solid in the AFC. They're looking to make some statements to get a big win against each other. What do you have going down here in the Harbaugh Bowl in LA?
Look, I'm gonna take the Ravens in this one. I think they're the better team. I think they've got the better talent. I know this game is in LA, but just kind of looking at the way the Chargers played last week, where they kind of almost let that game against the Bengals slip away. I think if that happens against the Ravens, you show any sign of weakness, they're going to exploit it, take advantage, and be able to close out the game. So I like the Ravens to keep. I like this game close, but the Ravens to come out on top.
Yeah, I would say that, but Justin Herbert is playing out of his mind right now. Justin Herbert has been incredible this year. And even that's even when they're not asking him to do much, he's still been playing lights out. And I think this Chargers defense has been incredible. I think they should hopefully get Khalil Mack back this week, which they desperately missed in that game against the Bengals last week. I'm going to take them to be able to shut down the Ravens. Listen, for the Ravens, if they want to win this game, just give the ball to Derrick Henry. In games where he's gotten less than 15 carries, they've lost. I don't know what to say. They need to run the football with Derrick Henry. If they do that, they can win this game in LA. I don't think they'll do that, though. I'm going to take the Chargers to get the win here. Picking different on a lot of these. These could shake up our pick standings, which no, I'm
Yeah.
not revealing just yet. It could be after Thanksgiving, though. Just saying. Yep. But nonetheless, let's get into our bet of the week here. Listen, last week in the NFL, I tried my best with the two picks on Instagram I gave you Steeler money line, which was easy. Chiefs money line was a disaster. It's the first time Patrick Mahomes as an underdog has failed me. So I don't know how to feel about this, but nonetheless, Austin, week 12 in the NFL. What's your bet of the week?
My bet of the week is Bears money line. I think the team gets it back on track and they get the job done.
Straight to the point. I like it. Simple and straight to the point. plus money, I'm assuming. I don't know how much of I believe they're 3.5 point underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, there's a lot of different ways that I'm tempted to go here. But in the end, the simple one is to just fade the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to take the Washington Commanders -10. I'm taking one out of your book, going with a big spread here. I'll take Washington Commanders -10 to get a little bit of a bounce back spot after losing to the Eagles. And they're going to destroy the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, simple there. Go with the Washington Commanders -10. They will roll in this game in Washington. But that is going to do it for our NFL episode of the Bold Take Podcast. Like I said, if you haven't already, go watch our college football episode or listen, available on YouTube and Spotify there. Get you ready for all kinds of games. We're going to get to see Indiana get tested for the first time this year. Can't wait to see that as well. As far as plans, we plan to have episodes out next week before Thanksgiving. But obviously, if something changes, we will let you know. But that'll be it for this episode. Enjoy another week of some great college and NFL football. That's Austin Hill. I'm Austin Wader, and we want to thank you for listening.